Well, I appreciate that information, but my reaction to that is that, boy, oh boy, you can make any number happen if you have enough reference points, and you can name enough things, and you can make any number mean anything. Now, I don't mean to take anything away from what he just said, but sheesh. I could take Bill Clinton's birthday and Monica's date of birth, and before you know it, I could end up with, I could date the pyramids or something or another. Any comments on all that?
Oh, I think the idea of sacred mathematics is fascinating. Like I said, Einstein, saw the whole theory of relativity as a horse coming down a beam of light, and then he knew that he could use the speed of light as a universal standard. But even now, we know that the speed of light, perhaps in new mathematics, using some of the theories of Tesla, can perhaps be superseded and may not be a universal standard at all. So
that's right.
Even what we consider to be standards in physics itself that we base our sciences on have some flexibility. But one thing we do know is that in relationship, for instance, to say some of the sacred math proposed by the pyramid, is that just the division of its height to the measurements of the base does begin to derive some of the numbers that he was mentioned contained in Genesis. So it's rather intriguing.
All right. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Kevin Ryerson. Hi.
Yes, hi. All right, this is Karen in Houston.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. I have several points in the Cayce material I'd like Kevin's special perspective on, if I could.
Go.
All right. Cayce mentioned at one time that the original fall of man was in the realm of spirit, and that later what came in the flesh came after that. Also, he said like attracts like.
Yes.
And in 1998, the Christ consciousness would return here. And in a dream, he interpreted himself as returning here by the end of this present century. Can you tell me anything about these?
Well, just to clarify a little bit, he talked about how originally, we were in spirit, and then that we are really spiritual beings. In other words, our origins are as beings of energy or consciousness, and that we are here as spiritual beings to experience the physical, that we're not physical beings trying to be spiritual. This is all, of course, contained within the basis of Genesis before. But in the simplest form, it's the idea of souls. We have incarnated through reincarnation, as expressed in Hinduism and Buddhism, that we are evolving our consciousness towards a point where we become aware of our own spiritual potential. And that in one of the Cayce readings, it was suggested that this return of what we call the Christ is a collective awareness of our own individual and humanity's potential to become children of God, which simply means that if God is love, and that is what we are, that can be one of these more hopeful paths that we have in this period of testing that Cayce talked about, that we've more than alluded to earlier in this program.
All right, and as far as Cayce himself returning by the end of this century?
Edgar Cayce, in his classic vision, saw himself as a young man sometime between 1999 and possibly the vision was as late as 2015, as being in some type of craft. It sounded remarkably like some type of technology associated with extraterrestrials, and he had his classic vision of the Earth, with the Earth changes that, again, we discussed in some detail earlier in the program. Now, whether or not that means that he is physically incarnate, or whether that means that as a soul he was viewing the planet's direction or fate based on the predictions he was given, is still open to some interpretation.
All right, and Art, lots of love to Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Kevin Ryerson and Art Bell. Hi.
Hi.
Where are you, pray tell?
I'm in Texas.
Okay.
I would like to send, first of all, I would like to send you some pictures, Art, of some ancient building stones.
Well, you can do that by mail or email.
which are from, I think, the original Atlantis. These stones are, give me an example. The heaviest one is 750 cc's. And
Where are they located?
It's somewhere near Texas. That's all I can say now. 750 cc's, and they weigh 5 pounds and 6.5 ounces, and they're man-made stones.
Okay.
I'll watch your mail, and I'll get a set of pictures off to you.
All right, I'll look forward to that. Do you have a question for Kevin Ryerson?
Yes. In the Atlantis, the research that he's done in Atlantis, does he have any estimate as to the age of the Atlantis?
Oh, do I have any estimates? Well,
yes.
in the channelings and in most esoteric histories, you must remember Atlantis had several phases to it. The classic Atlantean period that Cayce addresses, which culminated around, say, about 10,000 to 12,000 BC, places that classic Atlantean period is around 25,000 years. But before that, Cayce traces the history of Atlantis back at least 240,000 years, and then traces the precursor civilization of Lemuria back almost 1 million years before that. And we do now have some anthropological evidence suggesting very, very, very advanced achievements on the part of humanity, and perhaps even much more advanced concepts of human evolution dating back to those periods of time.
That would fall under the category of forbidden archaeology. And there certainly is a lot of it. In other words, there have been a lot of finds made that don't fit into what archaeologists and scientists believe about us, and so they just sort of, when they find something like that, they don't present it. And the people who do present it generally suffer loss of their careers. Are you aware of that?
Definitely. There's intriguingly enough, even traditional anthropology is being put under a lot of pressure. And a fellow intuitive of mine, whose name was Abrahamson, actually had pressed back the arrival of humanity here in the North American continent by some almost 25,000 years by a classic site found as Flagstaff, and he was sponsored by Jeffrey Goodman. And that is now actually accepted as the new carbon dating as to how long human beings have been here in the North American continent.
All right, west of the Rockies, you're on there with Kevin Ryerson. Top of the morning to you.
Hi, this is Kathy. I'm calling from Palmdale, California.
Hi, Kathy.
And how are you doing tonight?
Well, it's a rough night, rough day, but...
I'm sorry. Things will get better. They always do.
So it is said.
Yes. I do have a question about the pyramids.
Yes.
And I do have a second question, also unrelated.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, do we know when the gold top was first removed from the pyramid?
You mean when was the capstone lost?
Yes.
It's interesting. It's been suggested that it may have been there as late as some of the early Greek influences. There are recordings of it and descriptions of it. The other thing is that there were descriptions that there may have actually been not only the gold capstone, but other types of capstones. One suggested being made of lapis, and perhaps one made of quartz. But it appears that it may have actually disappeared fairly late within the historical game plan, being there as late as around the time period of the birth of Jesus.
Ah.
And we do know that most of the limestone was stripped off during the building of some of the mosques by the Islamic faith.
And in replacing this cap, do they feel that the pyramid is going to do something so-called turn into a machine and do something, or no one has any idea, or things not being said?
I think that the gentleman who's putting the capstone on looks at it as strictly a pleasing sort of aesthetics or a pleasing type of sort of publicity stunt per se. I mean, it has a dignity to it because it's kind of cool that it'll be up there again.
I kind of liked your earlier answer. Somehow I envisioned Zahi going up there and finally placing it on top of the pyramid, and all of a sudden you hear this giant rock shifting and sand pouring. Something begins to happen.
Like suddenly the Hall of Records blazes to life.
Right.
That's right.